guys! Well, I've decided to add something new to my channel, but something still book related. Instead of just doing book reviews and my top 5 lists and my bookshelf tours and whatnot, I think I'm going to also add these book to screen videos. So basically what that means, I'm going to be talking about any type of book related material that gets turned into a movie or a TV show or even an internet type of show. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Bible, which aired on the History Channel. The Bible was a 5-part mini-series that was about 10 hours long, probably a little less than that if you actually watched it on DVD without commercial breaks. It starred Roma Downey and Diego Morgado. I really hope I just pronounced his name right. I have a feeling I didn't. I'm going to go through each of the 5 episodes real quick and give a quick summary. Episode 1 dealt with Noah's Ark, as well as Abraham's search for the Promised Land. All the stuff with Hagar bearing Ishmael, and then his wife Sarah bearing Isaac, all that stuff, all that drama. And then there's Abraham's summoning by God to sacrifice his son Isaac to prove his faith in God. After Abraham, it moves to the story of Moses, and we get the beginnings of Moses, his exile from Egypt, and his return to Egypt, and then the summoning of all the plagues, the Exodus from Egypt, and then of course the parting of the Red Seas, and the introduction of the 10 Commandments. Episode 2 is about Joshua conquering Jericho, also Delilah's betrayal of Samson. We also get Samuel anointing Saul as king, and then after that is David and Goliath. After Goliath, we see kind of the jealousy between Saul and David start to happen, and so David eventually becomes king. But David quickly succumbs to lust and power, and by the end of that episode, David is promised that his son will be building the temple of God later. Episode 3 was about Zedekiah and Nebuchadnezzar and their leadership, and then that moved on to the Jews being enslaved. We also get Daniel and the lions. Quickly after that, we get to the birth of Jesus, and then he grows up, and then we get to John the Baptist and the scene of him baptizing Jesus. And that episode ends with Jesus and Peter meeting. Episode 4 dealt with Jesus bringing Lazarus back from the dead, also Jesus proclaiming that he is the Messiah. We also get the Last Supper and Judas's betrayal of Jesus. We also get to where Jesus is arrested, right at the very end. And of course, this causes all the disciples to scatter. Episode 5 dealt with the crucifixion, Jesus' death, and the resurrection. And Jesus wants his disciples to continue to preach the message of God. We also get Paul's visions and his change in faith. Then that moves on to the martyrdom of the disciples. But John manages to get out alive, and he moves to the island of Patmos where he receives revelations. And basically what this tells is that Jesus will return and that all those who have been faithful will be rewarded in the end. So that's a quick summary of what happens in all 5 episodes. I'm going to begin this review by saying that I have no intentions of causing offense to anybody, and neither am I trying to convert anybody to religion. This review is strictly just going to be how I felt about the series and the entertainment value of it. Overall, I found the Bible to be a really good miniseries. The production value was pretty good. There were a few parts of CGI that was kind of strange and iffy, but overall it was pretty good compared to most shows, and even some movies. The casting for the most part was excellent. The cast consisted pretty much of either unknown actors or actors who've appeared in other television programs, but they usually have very small parts or something. And guys, I'm kind of ashamed to admit this, but Jesus was hot. I've seen a lot of miniseries or movies about Jesus, and Jesus tends to be pretty hot. First there was Christian Bale, then Jim Caviezel, and now this guy, Diego Morgado, he is hot. I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for my feelings. That's how I felt about him. One of the things that I was disappointed in was the lack of Genesis. In the mini-series, it opens with Noah already on the ark, and he's basically kind of explaining how God created the world. And we're just given these very brief looks and summaries of Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel. It's all basically like a montage sequence. Noah's Ark is basically maybe only 5 minutes of the entire program, and then it quickly transitions to Abraham's story, which takes up probably the next hour. I Love to have seen more of Noah's Ark, as well as Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel. Maybe the directors and writers felt that that would just slow the story down, maybe, I don't know. I personally would have liked to see it. And then I was also highly upset that Revelations didn't really get anything. Revelations is just mentioned in like the last 2 minutes of the show. I was hoping that maybe John was going to get like a dream sequence of some sort, and we'd get about maybe a good 15 minutes of Revelations and showing all that really good stuff and all the CGI and effects. But instead, it's just mentioned. Like I said, overall the series was really, really good, but it did have like a few cheesy parts that I couldn't help but giggle. I know I wasn't supposed to be giggling, but I couldn't help it. For instance, some of the Moses scenes were kind of silly to me. Kind of overacted it sometimes. Not necessarily the actor doing a bad job, but I think the writing was just kind of weird. And speaking of Moses, I would have liked to have seen more of the Moses story. I know that we have the big 3-hour Ten Commandments movie that you can go to if you want more of Moses that way. But I was still hoping that Moses would have got a bit more screen time than what he did. I think his story was maybe only about 30 minutes of the entire thing, maybe 45. I don't know how you can reduce that big, huge, long story into just an hour. Some of my favorite scenes dealt a lot with the angels. I think like the scenes at Jericho, for instance. The angels come down, they're dressed in like these cool red capes, and then they flip the capes off and they pull out double swords, and it's really cool and badass. I really love those parts. But I think the highlight of the entire series was probably the story of Jesus. I think all of that was really, really well done. There was a lot of emotion to it. It was really intense at times. And all the story elements involving Jesus moved very, very quickly, I felt. They didn't feel like 2 hours when I was watching them. The Jesus story moved very, very quickly, I felt, compared to maybe the first 2.5 episodes, which kind of moved slow in some places. But yeah, overall, a really, really great miniseries from the History Channel. This seems to be a new thing from them, because I really liked when they did the Hatfields and McCoys miniseries as well. Not everything in the Bible is done. I mean, this is a pretty huge book, and there's a lot that goes on, but everything is not included in the mini-series. It's basically a big thing of just the highlights, the big highlights that happen throughout the Bible. So I guess that's it for this review. I don't have much more to say about the Bible other than that it was really, really good, and the production value was good, the casting was great, and if you're just looking for something fun and entertaining to watch, then I highly suggest you watch it. Okay, so I guess I'll see you all later. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, comment, share, all that good stuff. Bye guys.